I hope you've had a very pleasant Christmas. You with your family, no doubt. And me, I spent time with my family in Nashville and have come back here ready to chat with you. I do thank you for giving us a couple of minutes of your time here at AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. My name is David Tulis, and I am the editor of Nooganomics.com. And we have a great deal to get to today. And I think where the point that I want to think about with you, my listener, is the kind of default setting. There's a default setting that we all have, even though there is bubbling underneath this placid surface of how we think. There is a bubbling under, a steaming buildup, if you will, of discontent, even of resentment against this very default that we accept. And the default setting is that the state is always right. The state is full, it is complete, and in it we have our lives, we have our being, and in the state we have our future. The state secures all, it protects all, it educates, it saves, and with its programs and its subsidies for nonprofit organizations and their programs, it makes sure that everybody is taken care of, that everybody has a chance, and that every young person, every middle-aged person, every senior, wizened and gray, has his full potential brought before him, and allowing that person or that entity perhaps to exercise its full potential in the service of mankind. That is the default setting that we have. And the state effectively is a kind of religious being. And there are writers that point that out. I'm thinking of Martin Van Creveld. I'm reading his book right now, The Transformation of War, that came out, I think, in, well, I guess the very early 2000s. And I'm halfway through it, and I happen to have left this volume with a bottle of alkaline water that I was trying to drink down the side of my bed. My wife and I, Jeanette, were in a rental house through the Airbnb network, or one just like it in Nashville. And I've come home from a family outing without that book in hand. Martin Van Creveld and others talk about the state as being a kind of religious corporation, a religious entity. And if you think how the state prosecutes criminals, it always asserts this religious prerogative. And it is a prerogative in which the state is never forgiving. It is always offended by some purported violation of its rules. And yet, while it is, at least on the surface, it is very forgiving, it's very sloppy in administration. It is, it lets people go. It doesn't prosecute the real malefactor. And there's general sloppiness all about in the way its systems, its court systems, its jails, its surveillance apparatus, they all work in a very sloppy and careless manner. And in frequent violations of the Constitution, no doubt. But as an entity, as a kind of a religious corporation, the state accepts no doubt and no skepticism of the rightness and truth of its rules and its claims, even if those claims, often written by the General Assembly and enforced by state troopers and police departments and sheriff's offices, even if those rules are blatantly unconstitutional, there's still this indignation that the state affects. It is an affectation. What I mean by affect is AFFECT. It is a pretended. It is a kind of a demonstration of something that's not real, right? Well, think for a second of Nathan Bedford Forrest, if you want to think of the word demonstration. Nathan Bedford Forrest was a genius of military tactics, and he, being undergunned, undermanned as a Confederate general in West Tennessee, often had to fool the enemy. And I know you've heard of this one incident where he fooled a much larger force that had been entrenched, a Yankee force entrenched. He convinced it to surrender by having his 3 or 4 cannon and their caissons pass in rotation in front of an opening in the bushes in the distance. And he had gone over to the Yankee general to demand his surrender. And he positioned himself in such a way that the Yankee general, or maybe not quite a general, maybe he was a lieutenant colonel, was looking at Nathan Bedford Forrest's fierce gaze and his whiskers, and the brim of his hat, and just over his shoulder, the general was seeing the guns mounting, and passing in front of the gap in the trees. And as the general talked to him about the need to surrender, the need to avoid bloodshed, the caissons and the guns limbered past off in the distance, and this affected the surrender. So that was a demonstration, right? It was an artifice. It was a ruse. It was a kind of camouflage that saved many, many lives. Well, the state uses ruses too. It uses demonstrations of its power, and these are in prosecutions. These are in court cases. And I've just finished writing a rather lengthy piece over the past couple of days about the court case that I covered last week, that I've written about at Nooganomics.com in Middle Tennessee and Lawrenceburg, Tennessee, Lawrence County, and the indignation of the state upon the point of an unconstitutional law. And this case was one in which the carrying a weapon with the intent to go armed statute was showing its muscle, right? Showing its indignation upon a hapless American citizen, a Tennessean, who said, "No, I have a right to carry a weapon for my self-defense, the defense of my aged mother, the defense of people whom in God's providence I might be near enough to defend if they are, say, attacked by a pit bull, right, or attacked by a Rottweiler, or a runaway bull, or maybe a mass murderer who is opening fire in the front of a 7-Eleven store, some windy evening, who's a man having a tantrum as great as the dark clouds and the gusts blowing outside across the parking lot and the rain-dripped streets of a block of Lawrenceburg, Tennessee. Well, we are here at AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio, and we do thank you for giving us a couple of minutes of your time. The name is David Tulis, and I'm the editor of Nooganomics.com. If you want to find out about this remarkable case and a remarkable defendant who will be challenging the constitutionality of this law, you want to go to the website for the man who matters. And that website is Nooganomics.com. We are brought to you by One Stop Package, the alcohol, liquor, wine, and beer store in South Saudi Daisy, which is offering you 10% off on a case of wine. This is One Stop Package in the Sunshine Market on Dayton Pike in South Saudi Daisy, where you get your gas, your bread, and your smokes, but you go into the next half, the left half of that very brightly lit building, and there you'll find the best prices and a huge selection on liquor, wine, and beer. And my name is David Tulis. We argue that we should love our neighbors and buy local, and that we should believe that near may be better than far, that small might possibly be better than big. More often than not, that simple beats complex. And down in the footnotes, where the Crusaders and the Saracens fight with javelin and scimitar, you've got personal is better than corporate, and physical is better than abstract. I think those things are often true, and if we understand them, I think we'll have part of the antidote to the default setting where the state saves all, the state secures all, and the state is always true. There's a story at Nooganomics.com that I just want to mention to you, and it's about Chief Fred Fletcher's commendation of David Coburn, the officer in a photograph on Chief Fletcher's Facebook page. And Officer Coburn, who earns about $34,000 a year, according to the Right to Know webpage of the Chattanooga Times-Free Press, is a man to be commended for his ideas on community policing. Community policing is about 20-year-old theory that's a little bit newer, later on the scene, than the much more powerful trend that that began in 1966 in Los Angeles with Chief Gates, the man who created the SWAT team and whose theory has overwhelmed the public. It is overwhelming today. Chief Daryl Gates's SWAT, Special Weapons and Tactics theory of policing. It's occupation, in fact, of civilian government and the civilian life that we believe is ours. And we hear today, this morning, about the massacre, if you will, a cop massacre of 2 people who are innocent of any crime. They may have been aggressive, but no one deserved to be shot. No one deserves to be shot for being aggressive or raising his voice. We're not sure exactly what happened in Chicago, but the military theory of policing has reached its acme, which is to say its highest point, though no doubt it will continue on for a long time, even though it may essentially have to plateau if it can't get any higher. Community policing is what David Coburn does. I think one day a week he visits senior citizens, and he lives out the ideals of community policing, which is to say that the officer knows his customers, right? His customers, or his clients, if you will, are the people in his district. And he gets to know them very well. He knows, he becomes part of the social fabric on his rounds, and he knows everybody's first name, and he has a finer sense. He has prescience, if you will, which is to say kind of knowledge. He has kind of a knowledge of all the people in his district, and he can detect by knowing almost intimately the various denizens and shopkeepers and garage mechanics and plumbers and all the people who work in a neighborhood, the postmen. He gets eventually a sense of when something's afoot, right? Is a potential criminal moved in the new rental house, the clapboard house with the dark overhanging shades on the corner? Is that house now occupied by a potential criminal? And so he has a fine sense of the culture and the movement and the rhythms of the neighborhood. And in community policing, he establishes that. But the marketing of policing is through care for the elderly. And the photograph shows David Coburn, a very fine officer, standing with a centenarian, a woman 100 years old who has her wits about her, looks very intelligent. And he does things in her favor. So he notices when things are out of order, if someone's not answering the door, someone has not gotten the mail. Officer Coburn has the sense of care for people. But I wonder, as I think about this, is this kind of concern not something that's really private? That would be family, neighbor, social club member, maybe a committee at a church, or a community center that might have a nonprofit focus nearby that might know this woman, or other. And in taking over this function, or using the function of the deacon or the son, if you will, the officer is making a good impression, and that is why he deserves to be on Chief Fletcher's Facebook page. But the trend, of course, is in the direction of violence, massive force, and the like, and where the people are pushed back, and officer safety is brought to the fore, and the idea that the officer kills a dog, right, kills a little yapping dog on the sidewalk or the front porch of a house because he feared for his life, that has reached crescendo. It is reaching a crescendo. And I think we need to wait for the best people to start talking about this, which I'd say is the black man, the black minister, the black people being most harshly subjected to the police apparatus of the state. Just think about the people who are in Sessions Court. Think mostly they are they're, you might say, hapless people. These are people who set up, wall boards. They're carpenters. They are pipe fitters. There are carpenters. These are business people going to small businesses. Often they're young men who are not employed, right? They're maybe shiftless looking, and maybe they're driving in circles, but they're not doing anything wrong. I feared for my life. I draw my weapon, and the other party was aggressive. And yes, the young man is now dead, tased to death, with essentially electrocuted by my taser, which I have kept firing at him because he kept moving, he kept jumping, and he would not restrain himself there, writhing on the floor. And so I kept the button pushed, And yes, now he's dead, but I feared for my life. Well, we want there to be a reversal of this, and the people most damaged are the poor, the people who cannot defend themselves. They cannot legally defend themselves because they can't afford the permitting process to carry a handgun, right? The little cheap Raven 25 calibers that are often used by very poor people for self-defense. They can't take a day off to go through the training class at Carter Shooting Supply, let's say, or Sportsman Supply here in Hixson. They can't afford that, and they can't buy a fancy weapon. They can afford a $90 well-used 25 caliber handgun, not very reliable, and that's all they've got. These are the people who are ground down. They're ground to powder by the courts and by the police, and they don't know how to defend themselves. They can't make bond. They can't make bail. They can't afford an attorney. And the attorney that is given to them all routinely is the court-appointed one, and he proposes invariably plea bargain. That's what he's there for, to bring about a plea bargain. And how is it that we've come into this situation? And it's most fascinating to me that we've had this sudden sense in the past couple of years now of the default is bursting. Somehow there's pressure on the default setting that the state is always right that we haven't had before. And I would like to think that if we just think more about this, that we'll channel our efforts, and starting, of course, with our thinking. I think we have to think in this direction first before we can do anything, or before we really even say anything. I think in the way of abolition, in the way of replacing the military executive branch organization of the police department with something different, letting, I would say, Chief Hammond in the sheriff's department handle all law enforcement in the whole county, even in the municipal corporations, of which I think there's 7 here in Hamilton County. Let Sheriff Hammond do that important work of enforcing laws, if any laws really need to be enforced. And probably most laws that are enforced by police departments and sheriff's departments are not for crimes. They're just for offenses, right? A crime is different from an offense, though in statute, crime is anything that violates the law. An offense, a crime in terms of what God would say, right? The Lord Jesus, whose birth we celebrated on the 25th, he would say that a crime is a sin that affects other people, right? Taking a life, or stealing, defrauding, raping, lawlessly impregnating someone, or there are several. There's not a long list, right? There's a rather short list of common law crimes that abusing a lawful trust, that kind of thing. These are crimes, and they are to be prosecuted. But we have laws today that are enforced by the state. The state, with its many offenses, the state is constantly being offended. And we have to understand that the police there is a kind of police warfare against the public. And I think if you're suspecting that may be the case, that you're probably not wrong about it. And I suggest you visit websites of the kind that I often frequent, freethoughtproject.com, for example, which is a good place for basic reporting, and summary of other reporting on police assassinations of innocent people, such as the one in Chicago that that is gripping our attention this morning. There is no prosperity. There is no real rich free market in such an environment as that. And where the state is actually the predator. The state is the kind of the skimming operation. And you, my listener, you know people who are good Democrats, right? And you probably know people who are good Republicans. And what is their solution? Their solution is always, well, we need to have a law. We need to have some new offense created so that some good thing will come about. Well, every time an offense is created statutorily, an offense that's not an actual sin or an actual crime, but just an offense, you have an expanded area of grinding by the state upon whom? The common people, right? The people who can't afford licenses and permits, people who are just barely getting by, who they are one paycheck away from insolvency. These are the people who most often get caught up in traffic stops, in offenses, self-defense crimes, gun carrying crimes, and the like. My name is David Tulis. And I think you need to go and have lunch today at Ari's. Well, let's see, on Tuesday, or you need to go tomorrow. Ari's is open on Tuesday, and it's Ari's Harbor Lights Restaurant on Hickson Pike, 9700 Hickson Pike, at the marina. Right, just go north on Hickson Pike, and you'll see it. There's a special Tuesday and on through the week, which is for $19.95. You and your beloved can have a great dinner with a Greek specialty. There's Italian specialties as well. At Ari's, 3 to 7 is the happy hour at Ari's Harbor Lights Restaurant in Hickson and Saudi Daisy. My name is David Tulis. I do thank you for giving us a couple of minutes of your time here at AM 1240, the station in which you report and the world decides. Check out Nooganomics.com. That's Nooganomics.com.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Expect more warm and humid weather for your Monday. Becoming windy with rain and thunderstorms marching in from the west. Some of the rain locally heavy with a few strong storms. High 70 to 72. Tonight, drying out, lows lower 50s. Mainly dry around 60 on Tuesday with a few more showers Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. Check out the Breakfast Crunch Wrap from Taco Bell. Scrambled eggs, bacon, melted cheddar cheese, plus a whole crispy hash brown inside a freshly grilled flour tortilla. Only at Taco Bell. And I'm Source 12 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Orr.
On AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Save up to $10,000 right now. That's right. You can save up to $10,000 on your purchase of a new Chevy, Buick, GMC, or Cadillac through the end of the year at Ledford GMC Buick in Cleveland. And get a $1,000 gift card if you purchase a new vehicle now through January 4th. At Ledford GMC Buick Cleveland, it's our biggest event of the year, the Model Closeout Event. And you could use $1,000 to help pay Santa off. Don Ledford Chevrolet in Cleveland is the fastest growing Chevy dealer in the Tennessee Valley. It's tool time at Don Ledford. Purchase any new truck or SUV by the end of the year and get your choice of a chainsaw, circular saw, jigsaw, gas yard tools, and more. If you want a real man's truck, then hop into a Sierra or Silverado. All offers are compatible with $1,000 cash back. There's over 30 programs that allow you to save up to $10,000 during Don Ledford's biggest event of the year. Save big now during Ledford's Model Closeout Event from Ledford GMC Buick in Cleveland. Don't miss it.
You have an event coming up for the holidays, or maybe it is your daughter's wedding, or maybe just a church or office party, then you need to select Choo Choo Barbecue. That's correct. Choo Choo Barbecue. Whether you like pork, chicken, or beef. Oh, yes. Choo Choo Barbecue with their savory rub flavor. Oh, my goodness. It's making me hungry right now. You add in their delicious smoked aroma, and you have set the table for a perfect meal. Choo Choo Barbecue. That's right. Choo Choo Barbecue. Why don't you give them a call right now? 423-843-9554. That's 843-9554. Call 423-843-9554. Choo Choo Barbecue. You know where it's located, off of Hickson Pike, right there at the Valley Brook area. Don't kid yourself. Your stomach is already on the way.
While politicians debate climate change and taking our guns, they leave America vulnerable to disaster. You need to act now to keep your family safe and prepared. Do you have an emergency plan? Do you have long-term storage food? Do you have the skills and mindset to survive a disaster? If not, what are you waiting for? Call P5 Preparedness right now, 423-602-2175. Do you honestly think the government is going to help you? If you do, you are wrong, dead wrong. Don't get caught unprepared. Let the experts at P5 Preparedness get you ready for any emergency or disaster situation. Today, we offer a wide range of classes for the beginner on how to prepare, as well as the expert prepper. We stock a wide range of supplies, including long-term storage food, water filtration, outdoor gear, tactical gear, and plate carriers. P5 Preparedness, East Brainerd Road between I-75 and Gun Barrel Road. You will see the Army Deuce and a Half truck, 423-602-2175, 1309 Panorama Drive, Chattanooga. P5preparedness.com.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
Fox News Radio, I'm Paul Stevens. Oklahoma dealing with snow and flooding. Many roads impassable. There also now flooding in Missouri. All this from the same system that left Dallas with major tornado damage over the weekend. That damage now being assessed.
The EF4 tornado destroyed 101 homes here in Rowlett, and many of the neighborhoods are closed off, even to homeowners.
Reporter Laurie Brown from Fox TV affiliate KDFW in Rowlett, Texas. Relatives and friends of two people shot and killed by Chicago police this past weekend now looking for answers. 19-year-old Quintonio LeGrier, 55-year-old Betty Jones, both shot and killed during a domestic dispute. Police say the death of Jones was accidental.
I think we got to show the police officers and the family a lot of compassion. This is not the time for hatred in our city. It's not the time for violence.
Jamal Cole is a relative of Betty Jones. Fox News, we report, you decide.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Live from Chattanooga, Tennessee, it's Nooganomics with David Tulis.
The Tennessee newspaper in Sunday editions is making John J. Hooker the man of the year. John J. Hooker is about 85 years old. He's an attorney and ran a couple of times for governor as a Democrat. And he's been very active in litigation. He's filed many lawsuits. In fact, some of them have been so irritating to the political establishment that one court said he had to have a special monitor to approve of any lawsuit he files ahead of time because he is prone to filing nonsense or frivolous claims. I don't know that that's true, but that is what he has had to deal with in attempting to attain access to the courts. The story on the front page of the newspaper is by Frank Daniels III. He's a columnist, and he says in the lead paragraph, John J. Hooker, who has basked in the glow of public popularity and experienced the loneliness of public disdain in his 60-plus years as a political figure in Tennessee, is the 2015 Tennessean of the Year in recognition of his resilience and tenacity in fighting for the constitutional rights of Tennesseans. And then the story with its clearly there's a sort of an editorial slant here. It's not hidden, and there's no fault in it, I don't suppose. Goes on to say that he's fighting for another constitutional right, and that is the right to die with dignity with the overt assistance of a physician. That's the part of the statute he's trying to overturn with a lawsuit, and he wants it to be that the doctor does not have to mind his Hippocratic oath of doing only good for patients, but that he can, in fact, deliver the death blow to a patient if that patient wants to have it. And Hooker is dying of stage 4 metastatic melanoma, and he was diagnosed with that condition in January and is facing death. He's quoted on the front page of the Tennessean as saying, "I think that if you don't guard the Constitution won't guard you." And I'm holding up for my viewer on YouTube the Tennessean of yesterday's editions, and wanting you to make note of that. We are the radio station AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio, and we stream live on YouTube every day. All of our live shows are there at YouTube. Just type in Hot News Talk Radio, and there we are. This is David Tulis, and caller, you're live on the air. What's on your mind?
Welcome back, David, and Merry Christmas. Hope you had a nice Christmas.
Well, thank you very much.
I had to search a while for your number. It was 800-8949, 423-800-8949.
That's right.
A couple of comments. First of all, thanks for holding the newspaper up, because I am watching you on the screen, and I do need some extra paper for my bird cage, and that's what I use newspaper for. It's about how valuable newspaper is. It's a left-wing operation. I can't imagine any Democrat doing anything good for the country or for rights. You know, and when he told me he wants people to be able to, die at the hands of doctors, well, of course, because he's probably for abortion. And, I can imagine the lawsuits he's filed. He's probably senile. On the other issue of police babysitting, here's another reason why I despise Fletcher. He's got a bunch of babysitter cops. Police aren't there to babysit. Why don't they have a division of babysitting in Chattanooga and send those out to help old people and individuals in urban areas that are pulling out guns, killing people like one a day in Chattanooga. You know, he needs to grow some balls and be a chief of police and a cop and get into these communities and find out who these thugs are with over 200 gangs in Chattanooga and bop their head against the wall and stop and frisk and arrest these thugs. That's what he needs to do for the new year. And he's going to be out as chief of police. I predict he will be gone by 2016 if he doesn't do something. He's weak.
Well, this is David Tulis. We're hearing a very sharp rebuke of Chief Fred Fletcher, saying that he has to become more testicular. Okay, let's just put it that way. He has to be a little bit more manly. Well, in October, you'll recall the news accounts, 11 of 12 officers in a gang unit quit on account of friction that its members were having with Chief Fletcher's administration. Fletcher is a community policing advocate, and though he believes in law enforcement and the kind of military side of the state through Mayor Burke's office, he also believes in community policing as a way of softening the blow of the enforcement side of his department. Right? He wants to humanize police officers. He wants to make them friendly, and he wants to effectively market policing to the public by making its agents people who will clean out a mess if something happens, or fix as we saw on Fox News a few minutes ago. There was a group of officers who were all taking taking up the screen there for helping a woman with her car repair. Okay. This is our caller resents that cops who are supposed to be manly and virile and strong doing things like that. Well, and he also points out that John J. Hooker is a Democrat, and what good can come from a Democrat? Well, I think that's a bit doctrinaire. That's kind of not seeing a person's work for its real merit. And there are some things that John J. Hooker has said that he's said and fought for that have merit. And his latest effort, I would say, runs against God's commands. Against the Christian duty to prolong life, to make life as good as it can be for people who are in our charge, and overt acts of killing in a medical circumstance, I would say violates the sixth commandment, which says thou shalt not murder, thou shalt not kill. That commandment prohibits lawless killing, and it also requires self-defense and permits self-defense, but prohibits lawless and inequitable taking of life, the taking of life of the innocent. And there, I think that John J. Hooker is mistaken. But his most recent efforts prior to that was his fight to defend a provision of the Constitution that his great-great-grandfather put into the Constitution. He said, he's talking to Brian Kelsey in this story in the Tennessean about why he fought the Republican, the establishment desire to have judges not voted on directly by the people. In fact, the effort was full of lies, full of misrepresentations about people's rights, and the people fooled by the Republican establishment agreed in the most recent plebiscite changing the Constitution. So now an unconstitutional system called the Tennessee Plan, which ran for 40 years or so, was made constitutional by amendment. An amendment passed over John J. Hooker's objections, over his strenuous objections. And Hooker said, Brian, because my great-great-grandfather put those words in the Constitution, and I'll be damned if we're going to take them out. And so the constitutional revision in Tennessee now lets the governor, from a slate of lawyers or judges, propose for the public a slate of judges, and then the public picks from a predetermined slate of candidates, and then that is how the high bench is populated. Well, that simply takes from us a right that we've had, though it hasn't been exercisable for the past 40 years under the Tennessee, the lawless and unconstitutional Tennessee Plan. And John J. Hooker was absolutely right about that. He was correct. He was right in one of many what are called quixotic constitutional pursuits of this attorney. Hooker's recent crusades, the story says, as his critics would call them, includes a no-holds-barred campaign to have the judicial selection and retention system that the legislature created in the 1970s declared unconstitutional. The General Assembly did not bother to ask voters to amend the Constitution, instead passing legislation that substituted an appointment process and retention election process instead of the general election prescribed in the state constitutions. The judges who liked the idea of not running in a competitive election declared the process legal. Hooker was relentless, the story says, in the Tennessean in Sunday's editions, against what he saw as judicial hypocrisy, to the point that in 2008, his law license was revoked for 30 days for filing frivolous lawsuits. Hooker forced Governor Bill Haslam to finally appoint a special Supreme Court in 2013 to rule on the judicial selection system. It took the court about 8 months to rule the system constitutional. So, this is what, though he is a Democrat, though he does favor the progressive state, was allied with the Kennedys and others, the Siegenthalers, the kind of statist progressives in Tennessee. He did and does represent what I would say is a good spirit, a spirit of people such as Arthur J. Hirsch in Lawrenceburg, Tennessee, he's going to be filing appeals on his conviction on Tuesday in the circuit court in that state on two important grounds. One, the right to bear arms, and the state's wacky and incomprehensible statute called carrying with the intent to go armed. That statute he is going to attack as unconstitutionally vague. And also his conviction for driving without a license, which he says it's not possible for him to be convicted for that since he is not operating in commerce, and since all the terminology in the prosecution was for people in commerce who had entered that commercial relationship with the state through application. And his defense is that he was not an applicant, did not have a driver's license, because he was traveling on the public road as a matter of right. That's the issue. And I know you say, well, come on, David, you keep bringing that up, and it seems such a minor point. Well, if you care about principles, you don't see just minor points, right? You see the principle in the detail. And a man caught by the state on a detail is a man worthy of thinking about. And as I suggested to somebody the other day who's a Christian, I said, we have to pray for that man. We pray for men such as Arthur J. Hirsch in Lawrenceburg. Just by the way, the story talks about how Hooker remained an active businessman for many years. He lost his momentum politically in the 70s, though he was on a short list for Democratic presidential nomination in 1970. But he had business problems connected to his mini pearl chicken, which cost him millions of investment capital, and had caused rumors to fly around him and to damage his chances somewhat politically. He lost millions and lost to the Republican Winfield Dunn in a campaign race. Well, this is David Tulis, and I do appreciate you giving us a couple of minutes of your time. Give a taste while you're thinking about giving to Armando's in Hickson. Armando's in Hickson, the restaurant with terrific burgers and fries. It's a common man's restaurant with an uncommon menu. You might say it's a common menu, but uncommonly good and remarkably good, run by a man who loves to eat, Anthony Johnson. This is Armando's in Hickson, right at the Chester Frost Park entrance, right there with a new Thrasher Pike light is going in. He's got catfish, BLTs, pecan pie, steaming hot coffee, and many, many other good things. And also, just if you're thinking of taking advantage of somebody, as you would be taking advantage of Anthony, there's a great offer going on right now today at Don Ledford General Motors, Don Ledford GMAC dealership in Cleveland, worth driving 25 minutes to visit. There are $10,000 savings, or up to $10,000 savings on manly vehicles for the guy who listens to my show. And whether you have a big truck and save $10,000, or something else and save maybe just a couple thousand or $3,000, you get this nice inducement. And that's a $1,000 gift card. A $1,000 gift card for buying a new car through January the 4th at Don Ledford General Motors in Cleveland. That's Don Ledford. You can save up to $10,000, and it's promised if you buy a vehicle there, you'll get a $1,000 gift card to help pay off Santa, as we are suggesting. And I do appreciate your giving me a couple of minutes of your time. In the same spirit as John J. Hooker, there is this defense. This defense in the murky Tennessee Code of the state's interest. The state is prosecuting people repeatedly for an unconstitutionally vague statute, and that is Title 3917. The very first line of what is a long discussion about the state's abuse of the people is that the offense is a person commits an offense who carries with the intent to go armed a firearm or a club. Okay, so that if you carry a firearm or a club, you are going armed and you're carrying a weapon with the intent to go armed. And that is terrifically ambiguous and has to be overturned. I'm not sure why it hasn't happened yet. This rule came into effect in the 1840s, is when it began, to harass blacks, to harass free blacks, particularly. And you'll find in American history that gun control, including the 1968 Gun Control Act, is aimed at black people. It is remarkable to hear a little bit about that. The Gun Control Act was aimed at the Black Panthers, who were demanding revolution and demanding results for the black people. And the statute separates two parts of two offenses. One is possession. Possession is something that only a criminal who has a felony record can be charged with. And then the other is having a weapon with the intent to go armed. But what's important to remember is, or to note in this case, in all these cases, and there are hundreds of them on the books, many people have spent time in prison for carrying weapons without a permit. The legislature has the authority, limited authority, and that is to regulate the wearing of arms. I think that's in the Bill of Rights in number 26, maybe. You have the liberty to carry any kind of weapon, and the legislature has authority to regulate one thing, and that's the wearing of weapons. But that's not good enough for the judges and the legislature that has rejected the constitutional meaning very plainly, because now you're charged with carrying. Carrying can be having a gun in a box in your car, having a gun in a rental. Now with a new statute, carrying with the intent to go armed could be carrying a gun in a rental car, okay, or a car that you've borrowed. Suddenly, you're not protected by the new rule that went into effect, I think, last year, that lets you carry a loaded weapon in your car. The new rule being an exception, a defense to the broad prohibition against firearms in Tennessee. We have a very anti-gun state. You need to know that, very anti-gun. And it's going to take not political maneuverings probably as easily as a court case to overturn that law, to get a ruling from the high court. Many of the cases that have touched on carrying with the intent to go armed have been stopped on appeal. They've not been appealed on up. And so there are written decisions, published decisions from the Court of Criminal Appeals only. And I think the high court needs to address this issue. And please keep up with me, David Tulis. I'm at Nooganomics.com. It's an issue that does connect tangentially with local economy and the free markets. And that is this. The Constitution wants there to be local economy. It wants there to be a decentralized way of having people protected by themselves first, and to be protected by other people who are good and innocent, natural people. In other words, common people. And the constitutional vision of the use of lethal force and power is that everybody has lethal force, right? Every man has a weapon. Every man has the ability to take a life if need be, but that there's no danger. And why not? Well, because Tennesseans are good, right? Tennesseans are a free people and have a free government. They're represented by a free government. And therefore, a common man having a weapon is no threat to anybody. And so now we've progressed into an alternative reality where To carry a gun, you have to have a permit, which means you have to make an application with the state, and you take on a privilege as opposed to exercising a God-given right. You don't have a right. If you apply for the permit, you have a privilege, something that can be taken away, and that makes you subject to the state for regulation, enforcement, and fees, and the like. You are a sort of an agent of the state, and your exercise of your constitutional right is voided, and you just simply have a state favor to carry a gun under your jacket or in your briefcase, and thereby to avoid the charges of carrying with the intent to go armed. The statute is unreasonable. It is unconstitutional, and there needs to be a defense against it. That is to say, a criminal, supposed criminal, accused and now saying he's going to defend himself and attack the statute. That's what we need to have. That's what John J. Hooker would say. I don't know that I'll contact John J. Hooker about this, since he's busy now with the end of his life and fighting cancer, and his last hurrah legally on the death with dignity litigation. But there are defenses to the unlawful possession or carrying of a weapon if it's in your place of residence, business, or premises, or incident to lawful hunting, trapping, fishing, camping, sport shooting, or other lawful activity. Or also you have a rifle or shotgun while engaged in the lawful protection of livestock from predatory animals. And there are a couple others that deal with state officials. They can have guns too, but weapons are banned. They're banned. We are under a ban. No one knows what his rights are. Everyone is threatened by this charge, and it needs to be attacked by the common man to restore the common man's rights, so that there can be a broad base of personal protection of the good and the innocent.
Expect more warm and humid weather for your Monday. Becoming windy with rain and thunderstorms marching in from the west. Some of the rain locally heavy with a few strong storms. High 70 to 72 tonight. Drying out, lows lower 50s. Mainly dry around 60 on Tuesday with a few more showers Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. Check out the breakfast crunch wrap from Taco Bell. Scrambled eggs, bacon, melted cheddar cheese, plus a whole crispy hash brown inside a freshly grilled flour tortilla. Only at Taco Bell. And I'm Source 12 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Orr.
On AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Save up to $10,000 right now. That's right. You can save up to $10,000 on your purchase of a new Chevy, Buick, GMC, or Cadillac through the end of the year at Ledford GMC Buick in Cleveland. And get a $1,000 gift card if you purchase a new vehicle now through January 4th. At Ledford GMC Buick Cleveland, it's our biggest event of the year, the Model Closeout Event. And you could use $1,000 to help pay Santa off. Don Ledford Chevrolet in Cleveland is the fastest growing Chevy dealer in the Tennessee Valley. It's tool time at Don Ledford. Purchase any new truck or SUV by the end of the year and get your choice of a chainsaw, circular saw, jigsaw, gas yard tools, and more. If you want a real man's truck, then hop into a Sierra or Silverado. All offers are compatible with $1,000 cash back. There's over 30 programs that allow you to save up to $10,000 during Don Ledford's biggest event of the year. Save big now during Ledford's Model Closeout Event from Ledford GMC Buick in Cleveland. Don't miss it.
Do I sound like a guy who loves to eat? Yeah. You too? Guess what? I cook the meanest hamburger in Hickson at my little restaurant, Armando's at Chester Frost Park. That's it. Right by the entrance, Chester Frost Park on Hickson Pike. I'd like you to come by and let me cook you dinner too. Bring your family, kids, friends. Lunch for common folk, just not the common lunch. Yeah, we're perfect for lunch. And dinner too. Meat guy? Yeah. Potatoes? Yeah. Catfish, BLTs, pecan pie. Hot cup of coffee or ice cold sweet tea. Armando's, that's us. Going by 11 to 9, Monday through Saturday, right outside the entrance, Chester Frost Park, across from Thrasher.
Are you tired of working in corporate America, or have you recently lost your job and would like to consider owning your own business? If you are, please call me, as I can help you look at franchises or business opportunities that fit you, the economy that we're in, and the type of businesses that are right in the greater Chattanooga area. After I help my clients find the right opportunity, I also help them find the best way to finance the business, including paying yourself through the startup phase. If you would like to learn more about opportunities that may be right for you, please call me for a free assessment. My name is Bruce Krebs at the Entrepreneur Source. Phone number is 423-875-5621.
A view like no other awaits you for lunch or dinner at Ari's in Saudi Daisy. Ari's Harbor Light is the restaurant over the glittering waters of Lake Chickamauga there at the marina.
It serves you a quiet dinner for two, a solitary glass after a day of toil, a delicious family feast, pleasing even the pickiest 8-year-old niece here for the holidays. Come today. Ari's Harbor Lights restaurant lays a generous smorgasbord of seafood, Greek specialties, Italian pasta. Try Ari's at 11 for lunch. Ari's, 9700 Hickson Pike, Saudi Daisy, 843-2800. Open Tuesday through Sunday. A great place for a holiday party. Happy hour, 3 to 7. Ari's.
I love my Flex loan from Advance Financial. I needed cash, I needed it fast, and I didn't want to get a payday loan. My Flex loan from Advance Financial is not a payday loan. It's a line of credit. I only pay for the cash I need, and I only pay for the time that I need it. There's no lump sum payment. My Advance Financial Flex loan is an open line of credit, and I can get cash anytime I need it.
Visit one of our 24/7 locations and get the cash you need today. Advance Financial. Welcome.
Don't be a victim. Arm yourself today at Carter Shooting Supply and Indoor Range, offering the finest selection of personal firearms and ammo, especially the hard-to-find ammunition. You know the police can't protect you. They show up after the crime is committed. The ability to protect yourself, your family, and when called upon, your nation is enshrined in the United States Constitution. Shop the largest selection of shooting supplies on their online store. CarterShootingSupply.com. Carter Shooting Supply and Indoor Range. The largest and cheapest selection in Chattanooga. 6210 Highway 58, Harrison. Call 344-1099. That's 344-1099. Keep your family safe this Christmas by buying them a certificate for Carter Shooting Supply Tennessee Handgun Permit Class. And stop by today to consult one of their qualified experts. They'll fit you perfectly to the firearm that meets your needs. Call 344-1099. You'll always find the widest selection of new and used firearms at Carter Shooting Supply and Indoor Range. 6210 Highway 58, Harrison. Call 344-1099.
I'm the type of guy that likes a big breakfast, a couple of eggs, bacon, and some gravy and biscuits. I get that at Wimpy's. I know they have specials at lunch every day. That includes a big meat and 3 menu. At night, I want some good comfort food. Maybe some smoked brisket, pulled barbecue, or ribs. They've got that too. Wimpy's the type of place where you can go in and have a good conversation, catch up what's going on in Saudi Daisy, and have some great food. That's why I go to Wimpy's. You know where it's at, on Dayton Boulevard, right across from City Hall. That's Wimpy's. Give them a call, 423-332-6201. Did you hear me? It's 332-6201. Wimpy's. They're even on Facebook at Wimpy's. I know your mouth is watering just like mine, so let's go to Wimpy's.
Rick Davis Total Store Sale. Gold, silver, bracelets, rings, diamonds. Rick Davis pays you cash personally. Cash, 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 and more cash. Rick Davis has got the cash and incredible deals at 50, 60, and 70% off Rick Davis on Brainerd Road near Eastgate Town Center.
News Talk 1240.
I'm blowing everything up. We're starting over. I'm doing a new show. I want guys who push it to the middle of the table and go over the top. Take a risk, fail miserably. I'm right, and I'm not wrong, and I'll never back down. Conflict works. Allow it.
It's The Herd with Colin Cowherd. Right here and everywhere. Noon Eastern.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Barack Obama has voted 100% not to further restrict or regulate firearms. Barack Obama has voted 100% of the time in Illinois to ban guns, to ban handguns, to ban long guns, to ban shotguns, and to ban almost 100% of the ammunition manufactured in America today, primarily sporting ammunition. Barack Obama is a professional liar. He is a master deceptive tactician of scripted lies to gain votes from people who are clueless and don't do the proper research. And in the Nugent Manifesto, I spotlight the cockroaches. And Barack Obama and Joe Biden, the more successful you are, the more of your taxes they want to take. Barack Obama is as anti-American as anything you ever want to see. And just visit the website of the Communist Party of America, and you will see that every bullet point on the agenda of the Communist Party of America is lick for lick the platform of Barack Obama and Joe Biden.
give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
WSDT Sunny Daisy, Chattanooga.
CBS News, I'm Gary Nahn. Iraq's military says it has fully liberated Ramadi from ISIS. CBS News correspondent Cami McCormick in Washington.
The battle for Ramadi is important for the Iraqi government politically. It turned down a U.S. request for Apache helicopters and more American advisors because Iraqis don't want more U.S. involvement. And while the U.S. does not call this a liberation, it does congratulate the Iraqi army for what it calls a significant accomplishment.
U.S. military spokesman Colonel Steve Warren says the rebuilding process in Ramadi will take time.
There's still work to be done, though. Now that they control the government center, they're in a position to be able to clear enemy out of the remaining neighborhoods.
The Iraqi government now says the next target will be the northern city of Mosul. Changes could be coming for air travelers clearing airport security in some states. Live now to the White House, CBS News correspondent Pam Coulter.
Gary, next year, some travelers could find that a driver's license won't get them through airport security. That's because, according to the New York Times, TSA could start enforcing a decade-old law that requires states to comply with federal standards on their licenses. Some states have strongly opposed those requirements, which include applicants provide documents proving their identity, social security number, and immigration status. Some see this as a national ID card, and privacy advocates worry it will put a lot of sensitive information at risk. Gary?
Nearly 900 flights have been canceled today, 500 delayed by a major storm slicing through the middle of the country. It is the same system that spawned tornadoes in North Texas over the weekend, where the cleanup continues. Mixed emotions for this man in Rowlett, Texas.
We don't know what to do. We went from happy to homeless in a minute.
CBS News correspondent Mark Strassman in El Reno, Oklahoma.
A state of emergency was declared in New Mexico after blizzard conditions moved through the eastern part of the state. An ice storm coated road signs and power lines overnight across western Oklahoma. Utility crews worked to restore power to thousands.
Tensions in Chicago now running very high following the shooting of two people, Quintonio LaGrier and Betty Jones, by a city police officer. Cops were responding to a domestic violence call when they were confronted by what they said was a combative subject, resulting in the discharging of the officer's weapon. CBS News correspondent Anna Werner.
On Sunday, Mayor Rahm Emanuel called for a review of how police are trained to respond to mental health issues in a crisis. But family, friends, and local religious leaders are critical of Mayor Emanuel's efforts.
His real name was Meadow Lemon III. He was one of the funniest men to play basketball. Meadowlark Lemon has died in Scottsdale, Arizona. He starred with the Harlem Globetrotters for 22 years, inducted into the Basketball Hall of Fame in 2003. Wall Street, after about a half hour of trading, the Dow is down 53. This is CBS News.
Did you ever look at the stains in your coffee cup and then realize that's exactly what happens to your teeth? PowerSwabs is the 5-minute solution to get your teeth white without visiting the dentist. This is John Greenhut, the CEO of PowerSwabs. And if your teeth are stained from coffee, tea, or smoking, all it takes is 5 minutes with PowerSwabs. In 5 minutes, you'll see an average of 2 shades whiter teeth, and in 7 days, 6 shades. It's clinically proven to whiten natural teeth as well as caps and veneers. The secret is a tooth detergent that was developed by Dr. Martin Ginniger that lifts stains off of your teeth. Best of all, there's no messy strips or trays that you have to leave in your mouth for an hour. Just swab your teeth for 5 minutes and you're done. To try PowerSwabs risk-free, call 1-800-679-0969. That's 1-800-679-0969. I guarantee your bright white smile will have your friends talking about how great you look. Try it risk-free today. 1-800-679-0969. That's 1-800-679-0969.
The streets of several Italian cities will not be as jammed with cars this week. CBS's Sabina Castelfranco in Rome.
Pollution has reached such levels in Italy, extraordinary measures are now necessary. Both Rome and Milan have ordered no car days this week to combat pollution. The lack of rain has caused pollution levels to reach unhealthy levels for the population. Rome is limiting the use of cars today and tomorrow, and only odd or even plated cars are allowed to drive in the city. Sabina Castelfranco, CBS News, Rome.
There are reports Boko Haram has struck in the northeastern Nigerian city of Maiduguri, killing at least 50 people today, 90 wounded. The military says there were multiple attacks in 4 southwestern entry points to the city. A woman's suicide bomber killed one other person and injured 13 outside a mosque after dawn prayers. Gary Nunn, CBS News.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240. Live from Chattanooga, Tennessee, it's Nooganomics with David Tulis.
The free market is just wonderful. Its best minds come up with ingenious devices. Now, there's a company called Shield Defense Systems, and it has come up with a weapon called ZRO. ZRO is a retinal obfuscation weapon, and we know that there are gangs in this country that are looking forward to using this weapon. It is fired at the subject, who is blinded for as long as 15 minutes. This will allow, of course, control of crowds of people who are protesters, perhaps. It is a kind of pain compliance device, again, by Shield Defense Systems, the best of American technology and foresight and insight. A story at filmingcops.com says the fact that police are intending to use this at a time when the nation is deeply concerned and upset about the militarization of police is a testament to how brazen law enforcement departments have become. Of course, the weapon no one's clamoring for the weapon yet. It's still in the design stages. This website quotes a writer named Paul Watson is saying that the image of the weapon on the company's website isn't likely to calm nerves, given that the SRO is surrounded by what appear to be standard bullets. There is no explanation of how the retinal obfuscation gun actually works. And that is something for which we have to thank capitalism and the free market. I say that with chagrin, but that is how the marketplace works. If there's demand, whether from the private sector or the public, there are going to be good people providing the service, or in this case, the product that will blind people. We just said temporarily affect your retinal relationship with your retina's relationship with your brain. Something to look forward to, right? Maybe we won't have people shot dead anymore in their homes, as in Chicago. A neighbor elderly woman shot dead by a cop as well. We'll have simply people blinded, and they'll maybe fall over the banister or trip on the way to the kitchen as they are trying to figure out what has happened. Who are the people in my house? Why am I being screamed at? And why is that man pointing that black thing at me? And then suddenly, well, she's blinded for a little while and is rendered passive so that she can be herded and forced to sit down in her sofa for a little while and talk with the officer, who, while he's there, might check on her air conditioning unit, which has been giving her some trouble lately. There's a story at Nooga.com by Chloe Morrison about Shipt. Shipt is founded by a man named Bill Smith. He's the CEO, and he's going to be providing a service for Publix customers, the food chain Publix. He says, at the core of our business is the mission to simplify the lives of our customers. After our launch earlier this year in Nashville, we heard from many Chattanooga residents who would greatly benefit from the convenience of on-demand grocery delivery. Shipt will, according to Chloe Morrison at Nooga.com, will deliver groceries from Publix to residents in Chattanooga, including Collegedale, East Brainerd, Signal Mountain, Lookout Mountain, Middle Valley, and Red Bank. An unnamed spokeswoman tells Chloe, we're always looking for cities that embrace innovative services like ours. Chattanooga is a bustling tech hub with a need for a service like Shipt, that's SHIPT, by the way, to simplify their day-to-day lives. There's an app. You buy in for $99 a year, but if you sign up now, you save about half of that money for your membership. And members get unlimited free delivery for orders more than $35, and there's a $7 delivery fee on orders under $35, according to Chloe's report. Make sure you check that out at Nooga.com this morning. That's Nooga.com. TV 12, our CBS affiliate here, has a story by Valeria Sistrunk about a woman named Cheryl Jackson. And she's an entrepreneur. She works as a chemist. She's a mom. And she ended up in the hospital for 4 days with a bizarre condition. And she's been diagnosed, according to the story, with primary immunodeficiency. Not sure where that comes from, if that's a new name or an old condition with a new name. Also, common variable immunodeficiency. More specifically, Cheryl Jackson says she learned quickly that she had been born with a chronic disease that will require treatment for the rest of her life. But now that she's been diagnosed, she's back to living a healthy lifestyle while in treatment. Her son's a teenager, Brad. He says she's always fighting and everything she does as hard as she can. So with this disease, she tackled it as best she could. And it's been a big message to me. Apparently, according to TV12, our CBS affiliate, 80% of cases of PI, or primary immunodeficiency, are undiagnosed, and it costs the world economy $40 billion by one estimate. The Metropolitan Ministries, the leftist church organization with a great charitable impulse, is donating $167,000, according to Chattanooga.com, a press release which I think I may have gotten Friday, to people who are having trouble paying their power bills. And Rebecca Welchel is the executive director. She is concerned about these people. Many people in our community can't afford their most basic living expenses. Thanks to the incredible generosity of this group of donors, thousands of people who are waiting for their power to be cut off will have a much happier holiday. EPB is mentioned in the Chattanooga.com story. 3,600 people are living in as many as 1,500 households that will benefit from this contribution. Harold DePriest, the CEO at the city government utility, says this city has a huge heart. When they know there's a need, they always respond. And MetMin is Metropolitan Ministries. That's here in Chattanooga. Another story from the weather folks. David Carnes at TV3 is saying that he says, as local waterways struggle to recede, more heavy rain is on the way this afternoon. We have cloudy skies with a few sprinkles this morning. This afternoon, we will see a line of thunderstorms moving in that will bring heavy rain, gusty winds, and lots of lightning. Rainfall amounts will range from half an inch to 1 inch, widespread, with locally higher amounts up to 2 inches. So that's something coming this afternoon. While I was here in our studio at AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio, I looked out briefly, and there was intense rain pouring out across the parking lot, and my minivan doused by that. Now it's quiet, but more is expected this afternoon. Also mentioned at Chattanooga.com, more heavy rain is predicted over a wide area, which includes also saturated grounds causing flash flooding. The ground does not absorb water, and so there's this prospect of flooded streets. My son coming to visit our family in Saudi Daisy on Friday, maybe it was, or maybe Saturday, had to detour all the way around to get to the family home at the top of the hill on account of flooding in Saudi Daisy. This is David Tulis. We're brought to you by Woodhouse Day Spa. Woodhouse Day Spa is having a gift card special. It's still good for you. If you buy a $100 gift card, you'll get a $15 bonus. If you buy a $200 gift card or higher, you'll get a $25 bonus gift card. And for every gift card of $300 or more, there's a free luxurious throw. Now, if you missed that occasion to have that throw put under the tree this year, you can still have that because your wife's birthday is just around the corner, and that might be just the thing to suit her if you buy her a delightful morning with treatments more than skin deep at Woodhouse Day Spa. That's Woodhouse Day Spa. Now, online is probably the way you'd want to buy your gift card for her, and that's at Chattanooga.woodhousespas.com. That's Chattanooga.woodhousespas.com. The number is 443-4478. 443-4478. This is David Tulis. We are the Sean Hannity station. We're the Colin Cowherd sports station. And we cover everything from conspiracies to Tennessee Code Annotated. And on the 11 o'clock hour, or at the 11 o'clock hour, Russell, our news director, has a great new show on the digital sector, and it's called Binary. And our goal there is to help you make use of the gigantic capacity you have with your digital equipment, your smartphone, your pads, your PCs. You are vastly overstocked on power, and Russell will help you use your equipment. This is David Tulis, and caller, you're on the air at 800-8949. What's on your mind?
Yeah, David, I want to thank you guys for following the weather over the weekend. I know you did some periscopes and you were updating on Twitter and over the air. I heard it. So for us locally, that's really important. So I just want to thank you guys for keeping us posted here with the flooding and all the weather. That's it. Thanks.
Well, we thank you. We do appreciate hearing from you, our listener. And I'm torn about giving out our number, our studio number that lets you get right into my face, if you will, here on YouTube. And the reason we're not a show where I take a lot of calls. The reason being, if I do, I'll never get my work done. And I figure that you, my listener, would rather have me focus on what's kind of in my mind and in my reading, rather than divert with conversation with other people, right? And I figure that's probably what you want, my listeners, to have our guest, and then the best economic free market analysis that we can generate with me, your editor. I'm your host here, David Tulis. I do really thank you for giving us just a couple of minutes of your time. We're the station that covers local economy and the free market. And one thing I'd like to suggest, we have in Chattanooga, we have a need that I'd like to suggest could be developed, and it could be developed by someone who's. Let me sort of sketch out the need, and then how you maybe could help with that need. You may remember the name Chris Butler. Chris Butler ran a website for the Beacon Center, and also for the Franklin Center in Franklin and Nashville. Was a reporter covering state. He was kind of a state watchdog, and covered, thanks to donations, very generous donations, out of a wealthy Texan conservative, the marketplace in Tennessee, particularly focusing on government misdeeds and government abuses, and commercial government, as I like to call it. Well, he's lost his position there, and as a writer, and he's looking around for work. And I don't know that I can hire Chris Butler, but it's put me in mind that we need to have a watchdog group in Chattanooga, and it could have as the lead writer a writer like that, and it could have also some guys who are past 55 or maybe, and they would be like a couple of guys in Illinois who have started who run a terrific website called IllinoisLeak.com. They are activists, and they use the courts to force out government officials. They use open records requests. They use FOIAs, which are Freedom of Information Act requests, to unearth doings in counties, in bureaus, in school departments, on school boards, on utility overseer boards, and the like in Illinois. And the website is IllinoisLeak.com. If you go there, you'll be surprised at how big it is, how many towns it covers, how many allies it has who are covering the news. Now, they're not covering the news from the traditional media perspective, which is that essentially that the state is always right. We had here in Tennessee, we had a managing editor of the Chattanooga Time-Free Press for about a year or so, Todd Foster. He came because he won the heart of Walter Hussman, the owner of the Chattanooga Time-Free Press at Waco Media in Little Rock. And Todd Foster had a reputation for being a digger. He dug into things, and he made every effort to show that officials were, using let's say public emails and public systems for private business and things like that. He made much of what could be called abuses of power, abuses of equipment, abuses of privilege by people in government. Well, fine and good. We need someone like that, I'd say, who wants to write and wants to dig. And digging is simply looking at laws, going and meeting people in City Hall and in County Commission building, the county courthouse, and doing what Kirk Allen and John Kraft have done in Edgar County in Illinois. And the people that I'd like to suggest, like Helen Burns Sharp, would be retirees, maybe one with an accounting background, maybe another one, maybe a man, probably, maybe it could be a woman who has had jury service frequently in the petit jury, maybe someone formerly on the grand jury, willing to investigate and show that commercial government is riddled with, you might say, favoritism, in which friends of businessmen get on board, they get sweetheart contracts, and the like. And the person who would run this watchdog group, like Kirk Allen and John Kraft, those two being former military men, would be someone not afraid of looking at books, right? Looking at laws and regulations and rules, looking at corporate charters, for example, to see if a corporation, a nonprofit corporation, for example, is going beyond its charitable duty to get involved in commerce and business, right? And to make a profit. Often those kinds of things are very common in commercial government. Commercial government is what we have today. We don't have, I would say, lawful government where the wicked are oppressed and the good are encouraged. We have government in commerce. And one important reason we have that is because there's been a breakdown between two forms of law. One law is criminal law, and the other is civil law or equity law at equity, which is to say where contracts reign, where the law of relationships is in contract, right? That's called contract law or civil law or equity. Equity is the word for fairness, right? The marketplace is a picture of equity. In the marketplace, a man buys, another man sells. There's a contract, there's an agreement for an exchange of, let's say, money for goods, or maybe a trade in services, right? That's equitable. Right, the marketplace runs on profit, it runs on equity, and many parts of government nowadays, because that distinction has been lost, run as business, government as business, which leads to many bizarre circumstances and problems. And one is how is it that that the state, if the state is a business, if the state is merchant, how does the state show that it's been injured by someone who commits what's called a crime, right? Someone who does something that ends up in the criminal statute, which is really just something at equity. And I'm thinking here about the driver's license statute, which is an equitable business relationship between the state and its people. And yet there are provisions in the law in Tennessee which make it a crime to use the public road without having the evidence of a commercial relationship with the state. And that's what the Arthur Hirsch case is all about. By the way, if you want to read more about the Arthur Hirsch case, the only place to read about this very, very important Tennessee case is at Nooganomics.com. And in God's providence, I'll be publishing kind of a courtroom drama story about this case. If God gives me breath and time, I will get that out for you. I'm trying to get it at a better forum than Nooganomics.com, which is our local website, right? Nooganomics.com is a very small website. The reason it's so small and unpopular, it appeals to and is aimed at the man who matters. And, well, there are not many people like that. There are not many people who really matter. And so that's a very, very significant minority, very small group of people. And so I don't expect to be popular. Don't expect to be famous, but we do publish there. And my name is David Tulis. I'm the editor at Nooganomics.com, writing for the man who matters. And you, my listener, well, you're a man who matters too. You're a different group than the reader of Nooganomics.com, but you matter in a different way. Okay, you matter in a different way than the reader. The reader of my website is the man who really matters, and you're a man who matters. You really matter in a different context, in a different way. We have a slightly different relationship, you and I. I know you don't read my website. That's quite all right. I'm not offended that you don't, but there is, you could say, a graduation you could make. You're my listener at Nooganomics.com. my show, the David Tulis Show, and then you can say, well, I think David's onto something here. I need to find out more, and that's what you do. You don't just take my word on the air for it. No, you don't just take my YouTube commentary as enough, right? You got to do more. You got to find out more. Well, find out more about Wimpy's Restaurant. Wimpy's Restaurant is in Saudi Daisy, right opposite the City Hall there, and all the City Hall business is decided at Wimpy's, overseen by David and his dad, David. And there's a great menu: meat and eggs at dawn, or omelettes, and at noon there are sandwiches, there are soups, there is salad. There's a broiler out in the back lot that's often smoking away, and you'll get great home cooked barbecue out of Wimpy's. Wimpy's is worth a ride to Saudi Daisy. If you're not from Saudi Daisy, go out of your way, go North County, right? Go North County and try Wimpy's. Wimpy's is just a great down-home restaurant. Eat at the main table, right? Just elbow your way into the main table and just join the farmers and the guys with the ball caps on and the bad teeth and farmers overall. And you might see Rhonda Thurman there as well at Wimpy's. This is David Tulis. I thank you for giving me a minute of your time. I do appreciate it.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Expect more warm and humid weather for your Monday. Becoming windy with rain and thunderstorms marching in from the west. Some of the rain locally heavy with a few strong storms. High 70 to 72 tonight. Drying out, lows lower 50s. Mainly dry around 60 on Tuesday with a few more showers Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. Check out the breakfast crunch wrap from Taco Bell. Scrambled eggs, bacon, melted cheddar cheese, plus a whole crispy hash brown inside a freshly grilled flour tortilla. Only at Taco Bell. And I'm Source 12 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Orr.
On AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Save up to $10,000 right now. That's right. You can save up to $10,000 on your purchase of a new Chevy, Buick, GMC, or Cadillac through the end of the year at Ledford GMC Buick in Cleveland. And get a $1,000 gift card if you purchase a new vehicle now through January 4th. At Ledford GMC Buick Cleveland, it's our biggest event of the year, the Model Closeout Event. And you could use $1,000 to help pay Santa off. Don Ledford Chevrolet in Cleveland is the fastest growing Chevy dealer in the Tennessee Valley. It's tool time at Don Ledford. Purchase any new truck or SUV by the end of the year and get your choice of a chainsaw, circular saw, jigsaw, gas yard tools, and more. If you want a real man's truck, then hop into a Sierra or Silverado. All offers are compatible with $1,000 cash back. There's over 30 programs that allow you to save up to $10,000 during Don Ledford's biggest event of the year. Save big now during Ledford's Model Closeout Event from Ledford GMC Buick in Cleveland. Don't miss it.
Do you have an event coming up for the holidays, or maybe it is your daughter's wedding, or maybe just a church or office party? Then you need to select Choo Choo Barbecue. That's correct, Choo Choo Barbecue. Whether you like pork, chicken, or beef. Oh yes, Choo Choo Barbecue with their savory rub flavor. Oh my goodness, it's making me hungry right now. You add in their delicious smoked aroma, and you have set the table for a perfect meal with Choo Choo Barbecue. That's right, Choo Choo Barbecue. Why don't you give them a call right now? 423-843-9554. That's 843-9554. Call 423-843-9554. Choo Choo Barbecue. You know where it's located, off of Hickson Pike, right there at the Valley Brook area. Don't kid yourself. Your stomach is already on the way.
While politicians debate climate change and taking our guns, they leave America vulnerable to disaster. You need to act now to keep your family safe and prepared. Do you have an emergency plan? Do you have long-term storage food? Do you have the skills and mindset to survive a disaster? If not, what are you waiting for? Call P5 Preparedness right now, 423-602-2175. Do you honestly think the government is going to help you? If you do, you are wrong, dead wrong. Don't get caught unprepared. Let the experts at P5 Preparedness get you ready for any emergency or disaster situation. Today, we offer a wide range of classes for the beginner on how to prepare, as well as the expert prepper. We stock a wide range of supplies, including long-term storage food, water filtration, outdoor gear, tactical gear, and plate carriers. P5 Preparedness, East Brainerd Road between I-75 and Gun Barrel Road. You will see the Army Deuce and a Half truck, 423-602-2175, 1309 Panorama Drive, Chattanooga. P5preparedness.com.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Fox News Radio, I'm Paul Stevens. The U.S. midsection still dealing with a wild mix of weather. Parts of 11 states under a winter storm warning, all caused by the same weather system that spawned tornadoes in Texas and flooding in Missouri. Big slowdowns, too, for air service into and out of Texas.
We did talk to one couple. They've been trying to get out of Nashville since Saturday. They're not going to leave until tomorrow, hopefully. And then one family, they had to postpone their vacation. 2 little kids, 10 and 7 years old. Now they're not going to be able to take that vacation until later in the week.
Reporter Samantha Singer with Fox TV affiliate WZ-TV at Nashville's airport. A key area in the Iraqi city of Ramadi, liberated from ISIS control by coalition forces.
They're doing it entirely on their own without the help of Shiite militants backed by Iran. So it's just a very big win for the coalition.
Fox's Lucas Tomlinson. Fox News, we report. You decide.
Minutes and 40
News Talk 1240.
Live from Chattanooga, Tennessee, it's Nooganomics with David Tulis.
Skokie, Illinois is having its insurance company pay $875,000 to a woman who, as seen on jailhouse surveillance video, is shoved from the door of a cell across the cell and onto the bench, the kind of bench, molded bench built against the far wall. Her face is fractured in that collision. She had to have a plate put into her face. Teeth were damaged in this 2013 DUI arrest. Her name is Cassandra Feuerstein. She had been found asleep in her vehicle when officers took her into custody. Officer Mary Escobedo ordered Feuerstein to take off her shoes and bra before processing. After complying with her orders, Feuerstein is ordered into a hallway by Officer Michael Hart to take her mugshot photo. Well, apparently, Officer Hart is unhappy with her performance in the mugshot photo. He slammed her head into the bench. He caused her to have a fracture, a bone in her face, loosen her teeth, and slice a cut across her cheek. And the video ends with her, is online, ends with her in a fetal position on the floor, and she's weeping over a pool of blood as Hart takes one look at her before leaving the entrance. This is a top-down camera. She had to have a titanium plate put into her face. Notice this, though she's abused in this horrible way, she's forced by the prosecutor into negotiations over the DUI charge, and she pleads guilty. After the state's attorney agrees to drop the resisting arrest charge, so somehow she resisted arrest in this abuse, and the town taxpayers paying their insurance premiums on behalf of the city and its municipal corporate police will be paying $875,000 to this poor woman who has been beleaguered by the gang in blue in Skokie, Illinois. Illinois, of course, is the focus nationally today about the massacre of 2 people, 2 innocent people shot dead, one on the floor beneath a party who is having a boisterous chat with the officer. Young man shot dead. There is a confusion that bothers me a great deal. I think bothers local economy, and that is the confusion between criminal statutes and civil statutes between the whole concept of law. If the state is a civil party, how can the state can arrest you? How is it the state in its civil operations where it's under contract? How can it arrest someone, cite someone, fingerprint someone, book someone, have that person put in a jail cell, demand a bond before he is freed, and so on, forcing him into a criminal trial on what is a civil operation, what is a civil contract of some kind of civil dispute? It is a confusion which presages and affirms the modern absolutism, the modern despotism under which we live today here in America. We are not a free country, and we have to understand that we're not a free country because we don't want to be a free country. We cannot, in fact, be a free country because of the mass of the American population, the mass citizen of Tennessee, even citizens here in Chattanooga and Hamilton County are incapable of wanting to be free. They don't want to be free because they prefer their agreements and their contracts with the state. And I was reading some legal analysis of this whole question from a Tennessee case, and it asked the writer asked the questions: how is it that Tennessee, as represented by the county prosecutor, right, Neil Pinkston here in Hamilton County, how is it that he represents a party that's injured or brutalized somehow by a wrong? Let's say a wrong of someone operating a car freely in the marketplace as a constitutional right and not in commerce. How is it that people who are free drivers, which includes many Hispanics, okay? If you, my listener, are a Democrat, you should be very open to hearing my analysis on these points, because the victims which I'm seeking to protect are minorities. They're poor people, they're black people, they're Hispanic people, they're people who are seeking a better life in the United States, not realizing that they have, if they're here, if they reside in Tennessee, they have a constitutional right to travel privately on the public highway and not be in commerce. And that's, I say that based on my analysis of the statute, the driver's license application statute, which in an earlier case, in which I was the plaintiff, I forced the General Assembly to rewrite to account for an important religious principle, that principle being the right to live freely as an American without a social security number. That was my argument, and the legislature wrote the statute to account for my case, even though I did not appeal a negative ruling out of the Court of Civil Appeals in Nashville. So you, my listener, if you're a Democrat, about the argument, it's not creepy, it's not weird, it's not sovereign citizen oriented. It's you don't have the liberty of movement, you can't do anything. You are made impotent and immediately impoverished. If you can't move freely, but you have to ask permission for it and pay taxes to move, then you are not free, and all of your life is bound to the state. And because we're in that situation and people accept that, because people accept that it has to be this way somehow, we are, I'd say, in fact, though not in law, a free people. We're not a free people in Tennessee. And the question about how the state prosecutes is really amazing. The state prosecutes violating its paper, right? The criminal who's not offended anybody, not sinned, not hurt anybody, but simply broken a rule. That person is prosecuted in criminal court, in criminal court here, it's in circuit court in Hamilton County, or in your county from where you live, right? In your town, based on an offense, right? Somehow the state is injured, the peace and dignity of the state are offended, and so a man or a woman is often poor, often boggled with other cases, right? That sometimes you have these poor people, these poor black men, right? These 20-some-year-old black men who are boggled with multiple cases, fines they can't pay, court dates they can't get to, and bonds they can't meet, and they're in the jail. They're in the jail waiting for trial, and their lives are simply ruined. They're ruined, and they'll have an eternal record thanks to the modern state, thanks to the internet, and they'll never be able to get ordinary jobs. They've ruined themselves for failing to show up for court for a paper offense, right? A crime that's not a crime, that's not a sin, but just a paper offense, victimless crimes, shall we say. Well, how does the state prosecute? I think it's worth thinking just briefly about how does the state get standing to prosecute? If a law has been broken, how is the state injured? This is the question. Where is the injury? How does the state say, I have been injured and I'm going to prosecute a civil tort as a crime? Well, okay, the civil tort's a crime. That's something the legislature does by appending criminal penalties to paper offenses, offenses on paper in which usually the victim, its victim, simply has not agreed to have a commercial relationship with the state. That's what happened in the Arthur J. Hirsch case. The state is a fiction. It is a man-made fictitious entity. It has no life. It doesn't have a soul. It doesn't have really any inherent or God-endowed inalienable rights. It exists on paper, right? That's what the state is. It exists on paper. And in that way, how can it be offended? Where is the injury? Where is the blood, the damaged property, the offended reputation? Where is it? In criminal cases, where is it? In civil cases, where is it? How does the state in a civil case get standing to prosecute some businessman civilly? How does it get that standing? Standing doesn't matter in a criminal case. It matters in a civil case. In a criminal case, I think the question is still worth thinking about and worth asking, because there the state's not the plaintiff; it is the complainant, right? It files an indictment, gets an indictment, and it pursues the people's verdict on whether there should be a trial or not. That the grand jury's verdict that there's a true bill, there should be a trial. The state then is the prosecuting party. Right, it is the offended party, and it's going to bring that criminal who's not filed the proper paperwork to justice, and and that criminal again is the poor man. These are the Hispanics, these are the black people, these are the poor people who are often caught up in they're often kind of ignorant, right? They're ignorant people. They're not real smart. They don't think, they're not aware of things like you are, and yet they're constantly offending the state. They're constantly offending, and so how does the state get standing? How does it become the victim? Well, in a civil case, the party has to demonstrate that it has suffered an injury, which is distinct and palpable, and not conjectural and not hypothetical. Okay, that's one important, and that's citing Petty versus Daimler Chrysler, Tennessee case. It has to also have a distinct and palpable injury. It has to have an injury in fact, which is concrete and particularized, and an actual or imminent injury. The party invoking jurisdiction bears the burden of proof of establishing jurisdiction. That's true, especially in criminal trials. And I saw that at the trial Tuesday in Lawrenceburg. There was no jurisdiction, and yet the state's judge ordered that the trial go forward, though it should have been blocked right there, right with the challenge of jurisdiction, which can be a question that can be raised anytime. The judge, nonetheless, let the trial go ahead. There has to be, for the state to be injured, there has to be an injury in fact. Again, these are citing Tennessee cases. Those are words from Tennessee cases. It has to have a legally protectable and tangible interest at stake in litigation. There has to be a concrete adverseness. Okay, concrete adverseness has to be established for the state to be injured and to then sue some hapless citizen of our state. A plaintiff must allege personal injury fairly traceable to the defendant's allegedly unlawful conduct. So again, how does the state gain this jurisdiction? Well, it does because it's confused the ancient distinction between civil and criminal cases. I think what we need to have in Tennessee is a watchdog group that does what's been happening in Illinois, in Edgar County, where two former veterans, Kirk Allen and John Kraft, have put out of office 102 public officials. According to a story that came out last year, there's one dramatic ouster where a citizen's arrest of some commissioners who had a meeting in violation of the open meetings law. They were arrested by the citizen. The citizen called the sheriff, and the sheriff processed the arrest. That is a remarkable and very exciting story out of Clark County, Illinois. These two writers, they're just activists, right? They're probably older gentlemen they have time on their hands. They're like Helen Burns Sharp here in Chattanooga. We need to have Helen Burns Sharp times 2, times 3, maybe. Men who have an interest in numbers, perhaps, someone who cares about the law, someone who's not afraid to look into the Tennessee Code Annotated or read court decisions. Things, these are things I like to do. These are things that I would like very much to do myself. But here I am at our radio station, just by the way. And as the owner of the station and as the host here of our show, the David Tulis Show, I find my obligation on my time right now is in being salesman. I'm selling our radio station, and I do that with great delight. I love being a salesman for advertising. And I mentioned this so that you might think about being an advertiser on my station. And you do that by just contacting me at the station, or through Nooganomics.com. I'll be glad to come by and see you. And what we do is we connect you, my listener, your business, with the other people who listen to this show. Right? There may be other people out there who listen to Call Cowherd. In fact, I know there are thousands of them who love Sean Hannity, who love NASCAR, who love NFL. And CBS News and Fox News, these are all part of our great lineup here at AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. And they come because they want to hear Clutch with Keon Rose. We'll hear more from Keon in a few days. And also American Now with Megan McCain. And America's Morning News, they want to be there as well. A very fine news show that is good for detailed news reporting in our America's Morning News show in the morning with Eric Judd. And so those listeners love these shows, and you, my listener, the man who matters, right? You are the man who matters. You can reach those people. And that's what I do. I'm the media, right? I'm the medium between you and your customers. The customers out there somewhere may have our radio tuned in, right? Maybe, but you know that he's there. And so you say, okay, I think Hot News Talk Radio would be a great platform, a great media platform. And what we do is we plug your business on Facebook. We plug your business on Twitter. And we're now involving ourselves with Periscope. We'll stop by your business and do a Periscope interview for 4 or 5 minutes, and you can put that on your social media, generate a little buzz. And I interview all kinds of business people. I have a great time here on our show. You can come on my show, talk about your business. And no one, of course, can buy his way on my show. My guests are always people I've solicited to come on, and I don't care whether they are advertised with me or not. It doesn't matter. They have earned media, right? That's called earned media. And we hear from them how they got started, where they got their capital, how they separate themselves from their competition. And I do that to encourage the other listener who's not in business, but who's thinking about starting a business, and he probably needs the help of Bruce Krebs. If he doesn't have his own idea for a company, he can buy into a company from Bruce Krebs. Bruce Krebs, by the way, runs Entrepreneur Source, and he is the man to get you into a business that fits your outlook, fits your needs, fits your background, fits your desires. Entrepreneur Source, by the way, is 875-5621. That's 875-5621. And you will get a great deal out of dealing with Bruce Krebs, the man to get you into a business that fits your background and your interests. So that's what I do. We need to have people. We need to have, and also, by the way, I'm also just looking for a saleswoman or a salesman. And if I can have a little help in sales, then what I'll do, David Tulis, the editor, I'll be doing more journalism. I love both, and I'd like to be filing open records requests and attending meetings and things of that kind that I think might be useful to you, the listener, you, the taxpayer, right, the man who pays taxes. And who's yielded many constitutional liberties, and you're trying to figure out, where do we go from here? How can we get back what we've lost? Well, I tell you, we're not going to get back what we've lost for a long time. We're in a stasis, and until there is a major decline in the national sector, in the government-run economy, we are going to be stuck with the good people and their continuing harassments, their continuing burdens. They're continuing operations of deceit against the marketplace and against you personally, and maybe against me. I don't think anybody has any ought against me. I'm just a harmless talk show host, and I really appreciate your giving me just a couple minutes of your time. But in Illinois, IllinoisLeak.com, a couple of veterans who are filing. They do public pressure. They file freedom of information requests, lawsuits, and generate media exposure. And what they've done is they've threatened Illinois' corrupt and entrenched political establishment, according to the Ocala Post, a newspaper. They operate a blog called Illinois Leaks that exposes corruption at the state and local levels. The blog is so popular that it is trusted more than local newspapers. According to Forbes, their home county's government has racked up over $79 million in debt, all on its own, while serving only 18,000 residents. Kraft and Allen have their work cut out for them. But they've pursued justice. They have driven 102 public officials from office, including 33 officials in Edgar County. Oh, that's their home county. And elsewhere, they've done the same in Clark County. The pair busted the mayor of Redmond for attempting to hold office while living out of town. They represented themselves in court and beat Illinois Assistant Attorney General Emma Steimel in a lawsuit seeking access to state emails. Officials who have resigned due to the watchdog's effort include a property tax assessor, the Edgar County Board Chairman, an entire airport board, and its manager, the attorney for Kansas Township's fire department, Shiloh's superintendent of schools, and Effingham's health department administrator, among others, after they exposed corrupt, illegal, and self-serving spending habits by the Ford Iroquois County Health Department. The entire bureaucracy was dissolved. In some cases, federal agents have even stepped in to investigate and issue subpoenas to local officials after receiving tips from Kraft and Allen. This is David Tulis, and I think we need to have a board like that. We need to have a private organization, a watchdog organization, and I think if we had, $75,000, we could hire Chris Butler, the Nashville journalist looking for work, bring him here to Chattanooga, and then with a couple of old guys, old stalwart conservative Tea Party types maybe, or maybe a good liberal Democrat, we open the investigation of spending. That means reading contracts, attending meetings, and looking at papers, and then looking at the law. What does the law actually say? I think lawyers are terrible at reading laws. I don't think lawyers know how to read laws. I'm thinking about Title 5550. There's a provision in there that no lawyer has properly challenged, but it's being challenged now by a lover of liberty and a lover of the free markets. This is David Tulis.
Expect more warm and humid weather for your Monday. Becoming windy with rain and thunderstorms marching in from the west. Some of the rain locally heavy with a few strong storms. High 70 to 72 tonight. Drying out, lows lower 50s. Mainly dry around 60 on Tuesday with a few more showers Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. Check out the breakfast crunch wrap from Taco Bell. Scrambled eggs, bacon, melted cheddar cheese, plus a whole crispy hash brown inside a freshly grilled flour tortilla. Only at Taco Bell. And I'm